the price, the loss of legs. My occupation, in essence, not complacent. Block the banquet, stop the computation. I'ma make the coda, fools just wanna make the quota. They can't rock around here, they need baking soda. This a hydra, no way they taking over. Lay them below the basement with snakes and cobras.
Napoli's got to be like a strong 10. I've never heard you say anything nice about. What would you call? What are they called from that side? What that sector of the world? What are they called?
What do you mean?
Like a person from Rome is a Roman.
Well, in Italian, it's Napoletano.
It's so hateful. You barely can even think of the word in English. I saw you do the sign of the cross off to the side. You know?
Yeah.
Jamie, please. I don't know how you pull that off. This is the Inkpulp podcast. Is he coming back?
I hope not.
This is the build up for the entrance.
It's the build up to a not very good payoff.
Dude, you and Sandra had a great episode. I listened to that one this morning.
Okay, here we go.
Here comes Shape of a Woman skull.
How you doing, Eric? You doing better?
I was tired, and then I walked in here, got even more tired.
That's a reference to our discussion last week.
You guys look great. You guys look amazing. I'm glad I'm joining you again. This is episode 152. Shawn?
We're not recording yet, right?
I have to actually check on this. We're recording, Matteo. We wanted to record your entrance with your new tag at the bottom.
Oh, okay. But I didn't check in the last videos. So can people see my nicknames? Because back then
maybe they can't.
Oh shit! So I've been doing all for nothing.
Once Jamie assembles all the footage, they can't see the stupidity that is your guys' nicknames.
Damn it!
So they don't even know why you were laughing, and Eric was so disappointed.
Not at all.
That's why I'm like looking at your guys' names and I'm like, this won't matter. Jamie's smart enough not to include this bullshit.
So basically, when
as a point of reference, though, okay, on Matteo's screen, when you first walk into this place, just so the host knows what to call you, you can type in any sort of stupid name that you come up with. And these dum-dums have optimized for that level of stupidity. One is Matteo says, Matteo, quote, shape of a woman, unquote, Scalera. Which I don't have any reference about, but I'm really glad that I don't.
No, you actually have it.
Here's like, but at the very least, second, English being his second language, he did it perfectly. You know what I mean? It refers to him. It's a quote referring to whatever it is that he ended up talking about. The one that I can't dismiss, and you want to talk about just like English as a first language, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Shawn's says, Shawn, I'm going to read it to the audience and you guys can decide. Please put in the comments how dumb this is.
Fuck.
Shawn's says, Shawn, comma, Matteo and I killed it last week. When I first read it, as he was walking into the room, okay, there's like, I go, are you referring to yourself, Shawn, in the third person? And then Matteo, and then the third personality that's bouncing around in your stupid head. Shawn, Matteo, and I killed it last week. That's how that sentence reads. And I was like, yeah, this is... Sometimes people should not have choices. You know what I mean? They should not have freaking options. Anyway, here we are again in the train wreck that never ends. Episode 150. Shawn, correct me. 153, 155?
155.
155. Thank you so much for having us back each and every single week. I'm sorry that I missed the past few. I've been either tired or uninterested, but I'm glad.
Welcome back.
I'm glad I'm here with you guys. Always great way to catch up. I heard from Shawn's third personality that you guys killed it last week. How was it?
It was great. It's great conversation. I mean, we analyzed it by the end of it. Basically, we talked about comics for like 15 minutes top. But yeah.
we talked mainly about Matteos cross-dressing history.
I saw the pictures, and I don't know what freaked me out. I saw one picture, to be honest.
Just one?
I don't know what freaked me out more, the fact that you were dressed this way, right? Or the fact that I was like, hey, he's halfway attractive. So if this comics thing doesn't work out, man.
Now, Matteo, I gotta say, the ones where you dressed up just as a weird guy when you would take the train to Milan.
Oh, the one with the brown jacket.
Yeah, dude, you look like a child molester.
Yeah. I told you. I wasn't lying.
And no, I didn't think you were lying. I just couldn't believe what I saw.
He's just He's based on his expertise. Shawn is just confirming that you look like you have the genuine look of a child molester. Okay, before we got on stream,
otherwise I don't. Just to make clear.
Did you make an effort?
In that case, I made an effort in order to look like one, but normally I don't.
So you would just ride on the train looking like that, and you're the only person that was in on the joke.
No. My friend who took the picture was in the train with me, and that was his jacket. Okay. So he decided to wear it because he is way skinnier than I am. So he decided to wear his jacket just for fun. But then I did my hair the way I did, and I just shaved, which doesn't really look good on me. So that's what happened.
Yeah, you know what? Can I tell you how I've grown accustomed to you guys having your beards and mustaches? I've seen photos, one of Shawn where he didn't have it, and I thought that guy definitely touches children. I look at that guy and I go that guy touches children without consent.
Well, the only reason on the other hand, why we're growing a beard is just so that we don't look like creeps. So
yeah.
Is the only reason.
But there's a point though when you guys don't keep those beards trimmed where you go right back into creep again. You know what I mean? When you guys are well maintained, you guys look really well put together gentlemen, And then there's some weeks where I see you guys where I'm like, oh, that's those guys are wanted poster material.
Right. So if we shave, we go to child molester, and if we get the beard too long, we're Unabomber. Yeah. Those are the two.
No, still child molester, but a different kind. You know what I mean? Like a seasoned child molester. When you guys are going to get demonetized this fucking episode. But the earlier version is the one where, without the beards is the one where you just started on your career path where you're not on the FBI most wanted list yet, But exactly. As soon as you stopped shaving, you are right into these guys should be hanging inside the post office. Do you guys have that, Matteo, in Italian post offices? People who are being criminals being hunted down by government agencies, they have photos of them in the post offices?
No. It's not something that we have. But one thing that we recently imported from the States is the Amber Alert. So the new government just started it what was it, a month ago or so? So and they tested it.
Right.
Is it being
So your days of kidnapping are over.
Sorry, you spoke at the same time.
It's Amber Alert for Matteo all the time,
Yeah, my phone is constantly ringing. I had to turn it off. Yeah, I might run during the show because they're after me.
Matteo's in a white Bronco right now recording.
Oh, wait. Speaking of what's the emergency number that you had to press in Italy? It's 199 or 119?
No, it's Right now, it changed during history. Let's call it so.
It changed. People are gonna fucking die. People are not gonna remember the new one.
It's depending on the emergency. It used to be 113, and now it's 118, I think. And then the ambulance, I think it's 112. So depending on what you're dealing with, it changes.
What's the designation between you want an ambulance? Wouldn't you just call for the ambulance right away? What's the extra step?
No, meaning if you need an ambulance, like if you need like medical aid, you call, I think, 112. But if you need help, if you need the police, for example, I think it's 118.
Oh.
I might be terribly wrong, but what I know is in general, I think there's a couple of numbers, different numbers. I don't know which one is the one. But in general, even if you miss, as soon as you say what you need, they're gonna switch and there's just gonna,
so it's just a lot of bureaucracy. They gave you an extra step, even though they're going to get you to the right place anyway. They could have just given you the one number, but instead they're like, let's put two numbers to see what the hit to miss ratio is. How many people in Italy
if you
get this
get
shit,
the right number right away, you're a good citizen, so you deserve to be saved first.
That's the filtering
it's the first
process.
selection because there's so many people that need help. So this is an automatic natural selection. So the dumber.
Yeah, okay. The dumber you are, the less chance you have of getting help.
Exactly.
It's how they incorporate Darwinism into their local politics.
I love your country, man. It's so funny. All right, speaking of your country, you wanted to shed some light on why you hate people from Naples so much. It's a hot
I don't hate.
Listen.
All right. Go ahead.
There's I want to give the audience a range of your hate. Okay. So 1 through 10, 10 being very hateful, right? So to put Shawn and his Jewish people on that chart, Shawn is like a hard 9, you barely can be on this podcast with Shawn, right?
Yeah.
The fact that Shawn doesn't advertise it, you hate his kinds of people so much. Okay, so that's a 9.
Yeah.
Napoli's got to be like a strong 10. I've never heard you say anything nice about. What would you call? What are they called from that side? What that sector of the world? What are they called?
What do you mean? What are they called?
Like a person from Rome is a Roman. What's a person from Napoli
person from
called?
Sicily is Sicilian. Person from
well, in Italian, it's Napoletano.
Okay, so that it's so hateful you barely can even think of the word in English. You were like, I can't. I don't even want to give this a designation. Yeah. I heard you do this. I saw you do the sign of the cross off to the side.
Yeah.
Jamie, please. I don't know how you pull that off. Just put a church backdrop behind Matteo when he says it.
As you said it, you spit on the ground. I thought that was really telling of. Anyway, tell us about your hate. Tell us maybe by saying it out loud and getting it out of the way, it's out of your system and you can be more loving.
Okay,
let's talk about how much you hate him right now.
Let's try this exercise. So, no, I don't hate people from Naples. But I had a really surreal experience my first time and actually my last time in Naples. So that speaks for itself.
See? Every time you go over there.
But yeah, I had a really surreal experience. So, okay, let's start. Okay. So,
go.
This is the premise. I had to go there. I was invited there for a show every May. There's a show, Napoli Comic Con, and it got really big, like especially recently. It's one of the biggest shows in Italy, and I got invited there by a publisher that publishes my stuff. I think back then, yeah, it was Black Science. So
So you had never been to Naples before you worked on Black Science?
No,
never.
You've been to Naples before that, right?
No. That
was the first time. Holy cow!
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I'm really conditioned. Like my ideas towards Naples are really that intense.
That's where your bigotry
because
comes from.
That was my only experience, and it was a really negative one. So, I went there by train, all right, and before, so I got there, but then they asked me, "Hey, could you wait for another guest? She'll be arriving in like 30 minutes at the station. She's on a different train. She was coming from Milan, and she's a friend of mine." So I was like, okay, I don't mind. So
not after this episode.
No, she didn't do anything because it all happened before she arrived. So in those 30 minutes, everything happened. So, all right. So
that is a fucking amazing opening to a movie, dude.
Yeah.
That is like the Italian-born identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes in Naples.
Yeah, what's the movie, like 60 seconds and gone or something like that? 60 minutes and gone?
Gone in 60 seconds,
Gone in 60 seconds? Okay. So mine was, I don't know, fucked in the ass in 30 minutes. So
no.
I don't know if they approved the title, but that's the first pitch.
Yeah, I know.
So I gotta wait. For this friend so we could share a cab. So I got off the train, and immediately there's a guy with socks, like a bunch of socks. And it's like, "Hey, brother."
Like he's wearing them or he's selling them?
No, he's selling them.
Okay.
So, and he has.
I thought you just had something against people who wear socks. Dude. That's how you describe it. You're like, I got off the train and there's a guy with fucking socks. How dare this guy wear socks in front of me and my anti-socks lifestyle?
I just love that just the way he said socks, you can feel all the hate towards Naples he has in his body.
It's such a weird thing to hyper focus on. This guy with socks. Okay, go ahead.
So immediately is like, "Hey, brother, you want some socks?" I was like, "No, thank you." And then he asked me something like, he was trying to sell me something else. And he was like, "I think tissues. So do you want tissues?" And he pulls out a pack of tissues. And I was like, "No, thank you. I'm good." "So do you have just €1?" I was like, "No, I'm sorry." "Come on. Do you have a cigarette?" I was like, yeah, all right. Yeah, he absolutely wanted something from me. All right. So to just make him go away, I gave him a cigarette. And then immediately...
Wait, did he have like a trench coat on and he opened it and there was just socks hanging down?
No, he had two bags, like two plastic bags filled with socks and tissues. So all right. And this is
That's not a good combo, if you know what I mean.
Well, you can. There's people that both them use them both for the same thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I didn't get the joke. All right. I was so focused on my story that I got it late.
I'm sorry. I derailed you.
So then 2 minutes goes by and another guy, same thing, like two bags. "Hey, bro, you want some socks?" It's like, "No, I'm sorry." "Do you want tissues?" No. "You got €1?" I was like, "No, I'm sorry, man. I don't have anything." "You got a cigarette?" I was like, "Man, it's the last one." It's like, "Come on." I was like, "All right." And I gave him the last cigarette I had. All right.
Oh my God, that was so nice of you.
So now I have to go buy cigarettes, which is like easy in a train station. There's always a place that sells tobacco and cigarettes and stuff. So I find it. And what happens is, okay, so I get in. This is this really small, super small place. It can fit like, I don't know, like 3 people, no more than 3 people, super small. So I enter and there's a person in front of me that's being served. So I'm right next to this person. And as this person pays and puts their money in their wallet, and you know, they turn, out of two people, like I wasn't even existing, just pass in front of me, and it's their turn now. It's not my turn. Like, completely ignore there's any sort of line whatsoever. They just, I don't exist for them. And they ask for something, and they buy something, and I'm like, fucking assholes. All right. Then it's my turn finally. So I buy cigarettes. And back then, I don't remember what year it was, but I remember clearly that my cigarettes, I smoke Camel Blue, which is going to be one of our future sponsors, I think. And so back then, they were 40 euros and 80 cents. All right. So I give the lady 5 euros. So I get 20 cents back. And as soon as I turn, the lady who passed in front of me, she was waiting for me. And she was like, hey, can you give me that change? And I had it in my hand. I was like, all right. So not only you fuck me with the line, now you want to take my 20 cents. So I was like, all right. There you go. Then I go, finally, I'm out. You know, and it's still like 10, 15 minutes left for my friend to arrive at the station. So
this is like the beginning to that movie Falling Down.
So I get out, and finally I smoke like my cigarette, just cursing in my head constantly all the people that I've already met, like this 3 really bad encounters that I made. I was like, fucking assholes. All right. So I'm smoking a cigarette, and there's a guy right next to me, like a pretty big, tall guy. And he starts, you know, making conversation. And he hears my accent, and he's like, where are you from? Are you from, you know, the region where I'm from, which is Emilia-Romagna? I'm like, oh, yeah, do you recognize the accent? Oh, yeah. I lived in Reggio, which is right next to my hometown, like 30 minutes drive from my hometown. It's like, yeah, I used to work in a pizzeria over there for years. And he starts telling me about where it was, because that's where I studied. Well, that's where I used to teach in the School of Comic Books, was in Reggio Emilia. So I was kind of familiar with some of the streets. So he started pointing me, you know, like, oh, yeah, it was close to this place and close to the place. Have you never seen? Like, oh, yeah, fine. Okay. All right. So I finished the cigarette, and I'm about to, you know, say, hey, nice meeting you, nice talking to you. You take care with everything, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, by the way, buddy.
Wait, real quick. So was your anger at this point back down to like no anger? Like he had calmed you down?
Yeah, because I was having a conversation, you know, with apparently a normal person. And as soon as I'm leaving the conversation, he's like, oh, by the way, you got an euro? And I was like, oh, no, I'm sorry. Can I borrow your cigarette? All right, there you go. So another cigarette gone. All right. So that's fucking. So I get in. And
Jamie, we need a little visual cigarette counter under Matteo, and every time one goes, just take it off the counter.
So I get in, and another guy tries to sell me socks and blah blah blah, and I'm like, no, fuck it. I don't have I don't want to deal with you right now. And I'm just counting the minutes for my friend to arrive. And finally, she arrives on time, luckily. So I'm telling her my whole experience as we, you know, exit the station. And there's plenty of taxi. We call one, and we tell him, hey, we got to go to this place where the show is. And this guy drives us there. And in the meantime, I'm telling all the story to my friend on the cab. And as soon as we arrive, I could tell, like, I don't know how in the taxi, what's the name of the thing where it tells you how much you're gonna spend, like how much the ride is gonna be?
I don't know what it's called. Where the fare is displayed.
Yeah, the fare is displayed, and it clearly tells 18 euros. All right. And the guy just like knocking, he turns and it's like, it's going to be 20. I'm like, I can see the thing in front of me. It says 18, not 20. 20. I take a deep breath. I'm like, fuck this city already. So I give him 20. And from then on, it's been like pure hatred. So that was my experience. And it was just, 5 or 6 bad encounters, but all in a row, like in a matter of like 40 minutes. And that was my main surreal experience with Naples.
So during the con, did anything happen? That whole weekend you were there?
No, to be honest with you, and I got to tell you, it was a nice vacation. Other than that specific experience at the station, probably I just hate the Naples station.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it sounds more like the train station is where the problem is.
Okay, so for everybody listening,
the whole city.
Go to Naples. It's a beautiful place. Just don't go to the train station, all right? And by the way,
holy crap, man! What's it?
Francesco Mattina was horrified about me shitting on Naples, and it's so crazy because actually, but he's one of the first people that I met when I first came to the States, and it was San Diego. And that day I forgot my cell phone in my hotel room. And I was like 23, I think, 24. So my mom had been calling me the whole day. She was, she was getting crazy because she thought something had happened to me. And as soon as I met Francesco during the evening, and I was like, so how are you doing? And blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I'm a little worried because I forgot my cell phone in my hotel room. I was like, what? You got to call your mom immediately. There's my phone. And immediately he gave me his phone just to call my mom because, as an Italian fellow, he understands like Italian moms. So he immediately understood the situation and he borrowed me his cell phone. So thanks, Francesco. And he's from Naples.
But for I was gonna say what do you call it? For context, when you first made social media aware about your overall hatred for the entire region based on one local experience, he was like, "What's wrong with Naples? That's where I'm from." And immediately I could see, I could almost feel Matteos start to sweat, like, oh shit, this guy who has been historically nice to me made sure that my mom, feels emotionally safe from his son not being kidnapped while his first trip in the United States. I just threw this guy and his people under the bus, Anyway, it sounds like a series of events that lasted all of maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Yeah. And you were like, I'm going to paint the entire people. Yeah. Just a bunch of sock selling, tissue hawking, cigarette stealing, Euro begging bunch of motherfuckers. And I can't deal with you guys anymore. I'm never going back.
Absolutely. Oh, and you know what? Another thing that sometimes they do like, each one of them. Oh my God. This is, it just came into my head because I was complaining about this with somebody else and they said the same thing. But I had some experience with people from Naples, not all of them. Like, for example, I know another person from Naples, Mirka Andolfo, amazing artist, the sweeter person you could ever met. So she's not, she's an exception. But some of the people from Naples that I met, a lot of them when they're not in Naples, they love complaining about the coffee and the pizza because, apparently they're the kings, with that. So one thing that they love to do is constantly complaining when they go abroad about coffee and pizza from other areas, so that's another thing.
No, now to be fair, you are not the only person who confirmed this. In our time hanging out with you earlier this year, when we were all in Parma together, when you brought this up, there were many Italians in the room, And to each and every single one of them, I won't say it because right now, if somebody's going to get killed, I just want it to be exclusively you, not our other friends. But there were many Italians from the room also have experienced other individuals from Naples. And when you said that thing about, people from Naples who complain about coffee and pizza because they believe their thing is the best, right? Many Italians in the room were like, absolutely, they do. So it's pretty consistent. It's not as if you were the only idiot who got accosted at the train station.
To be fair, pizza is from Naples, right?
No, absolutely. They actually have the best pizza and coffee. But if you don't like it,
now I want to go to Naples.
Just don't go to the train station, apparently, Shawn. Or,
or if
get
you need
ready with your bag of socks. And fucking,
if I need socks, I'm going to the train station.
To go there.
I think that's the way you avoid it, right? That's how you have the best experience. You go to Italy, Naples in specific, with no socks and no tissue and get off the fucking. Here's the thing. The first person that you buy it from, they're going to be shocked. They're going to be like, what the fuck? Nobody ever buys my socks.
He'll be the legend of the sock sellers.
Yeah. You're that guy. I got to be honest. Like, as you were telling this story, though, I thought to myself, like, what the fuck is going on in Naples where there's just like an abundance of socks? What is that? Like, is that just something that they have over there? Like,
I don't know. It's their thing. It's the same with, it's gonna sound racist at first, but it's not because it's just reality. Like Indian people in Italy, they sell roses. And that's what they do.
Wait. Before you bury yourself, right? Something can be real and racist at the same time. It doesn't have to be one or the. It's not mutually.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's
like
just
it can happen simultaneously. What I'm saying is, just be careful.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, racism is, for example, I say Indian people have some defects or stuff. This is just
holy shit
facts, like statements.
Matteo, have you learned nothing? Racism is about preempting the fuck or not preempting the fuck.
Oh, yeah, right. You're right. Big blur. No, in Italy, like not everywhere you go, there's some areas in which there's a lot of Indian people that works in fields, especially because they're specialized in working with cows. So especially nearby here, there's a huge Indian community. But other than that, if you see them in the evening in Italy in general, they're selling roses because that's their thing. I don't know. That's just what they do, in Italy. Mm-hmm. So probably that's the same thing with people from Naples. They sell socks.
All right.
Sidestep. We sidestepped that particular landmine. Shawn, congratulations on hopefully making this into like episode 160 and beyond, because
we're all going to be canceled now. It's you and I are collateral damage at this point.
Listen,
now everything goes black.
If I'm going to get canceled, I don't mind doing it with you guys. But man, what a stupid thing to be canceled over. Of all the things that we potentially could say during this podcast, the thing about Indian people and the thing about people from Napoli is the thing that we're going to get in trouble for. Holy crap! All right,
no,
not the child molester jokes, not those,
not the early jokes. Everybody's just like slapping their knees at that one. They're like, oh, they do look like child molesters on multiple stages. But like the moment you say something about Naples and pizza and all that kind of stuff, boy, we're going to get in so much trouble.
Yeah.
All right, Maddie, I'm sorry that you had that experience, but it seems like it's made you into a fuller human being. Yeah. It seems like it's coming from a good place that you hate that many people from one region based on their representation in the train station. That's so weird to me, but okay. To each their own. Shawn, you don't have anything like this, right? You love everybody.
I think I do, yeah.
All right, because I've never seen you.
I can come up with some hate if I wanted to. I could come up with some.
Is it safe hate that we can talk about during the show?
You probably hate them, right?
No.
Well, to be fair,
they're good.
Shawn, don't fucking finish that sentence.
They're not all bad, right? deep in their heart, like where their families and kids, probably they're decent people.
Do not fucking.
You've got good ones. You've got bad ones.
Knock it off. That fucking question is such a bait.
All right.
Ooh, no, I have hate for individuals more than groups of people. Is there a place? I'm trying to think. Yes, I can be extremely intolerant. I just can't remember exactly where.
Yeah, but Nazis are not one of them. You love your fair share of Nazis, is what you're saying. It sounds like. We are going to get in so much trouble for that one. Matteo just kept feeding you. You know what I mean? Just like, no, they're all right.
I'll go for the joke every time. Every time.
What is that you guys think? And you guys are huge connoisseurs of these kinds of comedy, these kinds of setup. What is it that makes people so like nobody in their right mind would think that what you guys are talking about is serious? Mm-hmm. Right. And yet, even like there's plenty of people that we hang out with where I'm like, that's a joke, right? But regardless of the, like, you almost can't say the joke, even though knowing full well that it's a joke. Have you heard comedians talk about that? Like, why is it knowing full well that that's a joke? Why do people act so negatively towards the concept of the joke? Is it just because it's being said out loud? Is that what it is?
I think. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Matteo. No, you go.
I think that it's a response based on sense of guilt in my head, which is like, you're actually like inside, even if outside, maybe I'm not laughing, but inside you made me laugh about something that I'm not supposed to be laughing at. So my sense of guilt for that makes me attack you because you made me laugh at something that I'm not supposed to.
Really? Do you think it's that level of psychology where they're like, I should not be laughing at that joke. You did that to me. I am going to tell you how dare you. Like, it's almost like a how dare you made me laugh.
It's either that or it's a bit of a performance where maybe they don't feel guilty, but they also don't want to be seen as the person laughing at it. So they're trying to put on a show of like virtue signaling.
Yeah,
basically.
virtue signaling. But
that too.
But it's
also let me put it to you in a different context, right? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I had another option could be that, especially in this era where everybody matters, apparently, like as soon you wanna. It's another way to feel important. Like, you made a joke about this thing, true. And I've decided that that's a sensitive subject for me, so I'm gonna be upset at you, and you need to know that I'm upset at you because I matter. Yeah.
That's true. I agree.
So it's a kind of expression of our singularity and personality and blah blah blah.
Okay, so let me follow up on that, Matteo. Yeah. Do you think that people have a false sense of like quote unquote mattering in the capacity that we're talking about, like because they now have an avenue in which they can, something tells them that they have that, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you matter because you now have a social media platform. You now have, I don't know what the I'm asking is what makes things different now than it was back in the day when we'd tell stupid jokes like this and like somebody would get offended. And as a collective, we'd just be like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like,
you hit the nail on the head. There's a global platform that everyone has now that did not exist before. Before it was just your group of 5 to 10 friends in front of you.
And the reason why I'm pushing back, I want to dig a little bit deeper in that, right? The reason why, because everybody has that now. So what makes this one person that much more important than another person? You know what I mean? Like,
everyone's fighting. Everyone's fighting for the attention. It's like everyone has their own TV show and they are the host. And they are all.
I don't disagree. What I'm saying is once you make everybody special, quote unquote special, as Matteo says, once you make everybody important, then isn't the concept that nobody is important?
That's
right?
the truth of it, but I don't think they realize that.
But it's more of an internal thing. Like all these things made me feel that I matter. You know, aside from everybody else, I personally matter because it's quantifiable. Like I have likes, I have views. So there's a number that guarantees me that somebody's listening to me.
I see.
And if they reply, whatever they reply, it's still somebody. It caught someone's attention, you know. Whilst normally you would have any platform, so you're either a crazy person would scream on the streets and nobody will, you know, everybody would try to avoid them, or you know, otherwise nobody will hear whatever the fuck you're thinking, you know. So it's it's I don't think it's
you know, there's something to point out here, that after 40 minutes of nonsense from Matteo, we just got a real pearl of wisdom. And I've spoken about Matteo's wisdom before, and that was a shining example of it. You just have to wade through the hate for Napoli because of a train station, the dressing up like a child molester, and you'll get to the wisdom.
I'll say, I disagree with that in part, Shawn. Right? I think Matteo is nothing but wisdom pearls. That sounds so awful. Matteo is nothing but
they call them wisdom pearls,
right? Yeah. I'm trying to give you a compliment, but here we go. Yeah. Like I think Matteo just inherently is a very, very smart guy. Here's the difference. You can't let him start the conversation. You know what I mean? Like left to his own devices, he's a moron. Like he is just walking around bumping into walls, right? What you need to do is what we've been doing is like set him up to basically give over those pearls, because left to his own devices, he's just going to talk about his body shape. He's going to talk about, you know what I mean? So just really silly things that happen to him.
The bridge between the land of idiocy and wisdom. So we build the bridge and Matteo will walk there.
Yep. That's extreme, and I'm genuinely offended by the idea of it. But yes, that's also honest. That's also accurate. Okay, so let me go back to a point that I was trying to make earlier. Yep. Right? Here's something that's been happening in comics, because I've recognized it in the X amount that I buy in recent times. This isn't some kind of like back in my day kind of a thing. I'm reading the villains in comics. And by the way, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but sometimes I attach myself to a title, especially something like the X-Men, because the villains are so fucking good, right? Mm-hmm. They are so like, oh my God, this fucking asshole, this world changing jerk that I don't believe in I don't believe what he's saying, but I understand it, if that makes any sense. And that makes
like
me
Thanos,
hate, exactly, like Thanos. Like I hate them that much more, because how can you possibly believe that? That I understand what you're saying, but how can you possibly believe it, right? Yeah. To me, in part, not in whole, but I mean, like villains, good, well-written villains are like this. If they make sense in their head, even though from the context of your heroes who you've aligned yourself with, you go like, that makes sense, man, but that's the wrong way of thinking about stuff, right? That's cool. As I read villains now, I don't think these guys know how to write villains, right? And a part of me, I think it comes from a place of like by the way of the audience of specials that you're talking about, Matteo. Mm-hmm. Like they attach the perspective of the villain to the perspective of the writer.
Yes.
They go, you can't say that thing. It's offensive to me. And by proxy, you believe in that thing that the villain is saying.
Yeah. It's like if you had a Punisher book and you had a racist bad guy, getting back to the racism topic. And the bad guy who's a piece of shit, who the Punisher's out to kill, says the N-word, the writer will be attacked for using it.
Yeah. Right. Which is weird to me. Like,
it's very strange.
That's a strange like connection to go like, clearly the bad guy, right? Yeah. Clearly you're not meant to, what do you call it? You're not meant to, you're not celebrating it. You're not highlighting it in such a way where it's like, do these awesome things that the bad guy says. Nobody's looking at the Joker going like, you should really you should really commit to mass genocide, like mass, you know what I mean? Like nobody's saying that. But the moment you have them do something that's off, like something that offends somebody, immediately the writer is at, now the writer believes in those things, where it's like, no, he's clearly making it so that this asshole, this antagonist is doing it. I don't know. I don't understand why that level of sensitivity is
come into play, because publishers are the ones who're supposed to be like, resist this kind of, pushbacks or something. So they should be the ones saying, defending the writers and saying, hey, and explain to readers what's the situation, instead of and how would you say, pandering.
And so we've created an environment where there's self-censoring in a creative field, which I think is really bad for any art
That's a little
form.
weird. Yeah, that's a little weird only because, if you're having to, I don't know. I'm torn on that concept, right? Obviously, self-awareness is it's critical to me, right? Like I want to know that how I'm conducting myself has a general impact, not a specific one, let's say, but like a general impact on people. But I conduct the way I draw and come up with creative stuff, not because I'm out to offend somebody, but because I'm out to entertain. The offensive. That's a huge challenge, by the way. Sometimes that line gets blurred, What's entertaining to some can potentially be immediately offensive to the others. Here's the key integer that I think I'd want to have somebody who's on the opposite side of this particular fence to talk about. Like, at some point, not everything is made for you.
Yeah.
Right. Very true. Very true.
The line of divination, the line that I do not cross, especially when it comes to like TV, when it comes to like my version of entertainment, I give it about 2 or 3 episodes, 2 or 3 books or whatever it is. I read it and I go like, this isn't entertaining for me in whatever capacity that it's not entertaining, whether it be poorly written or just, poorly colored, poorly drawn, poorly, whatever it is. Yeah. I go, okay, not for me. I move on to the next thing. Where I get confused is, why is it that just because it's not for me, it's not meant to exist? It shouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's a strange modern concept.
What is that?
I don't.
Personally,
where does that come from?
It's a really childish. It's a really childish.
I think it's the bubble. I think it's the bubble.
What do you mean by bubble?
Yeah, go ahead, Matteo. I think we're just living in a time where everyone lives in and has created, and social media has helped them create a bubble where it's like this bubble is only filled with people who think like I think, who agree with what I agree with, and there's like almost no room for disagreement. There's no room for an opposite point of view. There's no room for a civil debate anymore. So if a piece of entertainment comes by that bubble and it challenges their ideals, it's just like this. No, my bubble says I shouldn't have any discomfort in life, none at all. And I think that's part of it.
I think it's a really childish.
Go ahead, Matty.
I think it comes from a really childish way of seeing the world, but also I gotta admit, like, some of the people we're talking about, they're young people, so I don't actually blame them, because I kind of, relate to them, because, years ago I was young, so I know the reason sometimes. And especially young people have the tendency of dividing a lot between right and wrong, which
that's true. That's true.
As years go by, you learn that it's not a healthy way of seeing, things, because for that we have the laws. Right. And other than that, instead of focusing on what's right and what's wrong, it's hard to say it in English for me, but it's it doesn't allow you to see reality for what it is, which is a mix of a lot of different truths. So there isn't one truth.
Right.
Usually truth, most of the time, it's a mix of a lot of different truths. And if you start reasoning wrong or right, you miss the opportunity of see the truth as it really is, which is a complexity of things, you know. So you missed the opportunity as well to find the solutions to problems because you're just decided that you want to see just a part of the truth, which is the one that better.
Can I follow? Let me follow up on that real quick.
Yeah.
Let me follow up on that real quick, Matteo. I think like what people have a tendency to filter out. I think this is what you're in part of what you're talking about, which is like people don't have the capacity for nuance anymore, right? Yeah. So I think that's what you're trying to land at when you're talking about like that truth, right? Yeah. Everybody wants to define something as either real, as contrasting as possible because it makes their decision making a little bit easier. Now, here's the part where I understand the young part, right? Which is like, number one, your world experiences have not given you enough understanding of how things work for you to have an appreciation of nuance. Yeah. So it's easier for something to be black and white to you. It's either wrong or right, right? So I totally understand that. Where it puzzles me the most is when you have adults doing it. And a part of me thinks that one, the same thing applies, which is they have not had enough world experiences, personal life experiences to understand that everything, a lot of things exist with nuance and not everything can be that level of like obvious. It's either ones or zero. It's either black or white, or they actively try to live that life where they don't want to see nuance. You see, those are two very, those are like clear things to me. One is they've never experienced, they don't have enough life experience to understand what nuance is, right? Yeah. Or they actively keep nuance out of the conversation for what, that's the part where I'm like, why would you not want to understand a better, like have a fuller picture of that situation? Does it like, and we run in circles like this, you know, where I can talk to somebody and I'm like, so-and-so is bad because of this one thing that they did. And I'm like, but is that everything is that enough for you to say, fuck that person, I never want to talk to them again? Or do you have a better understanding of who they are? And yet, because it's easy to turn that person into a bad guy, right? Like it's actually not easy. It's convenient to turn that person into a bad guy.
That gets into a point I was going to make, but go ahead. But
within their own circle, I go like, that level of criticism, you never reflect internally to the people that you hang out with. It's almost like they're immune to that criticism because again, you want to be, because this is not, it's convenient to keep this guy a good guy. So I'm like, wait, but now you're playing with nuance. Now you're playing with like little things that help you. And I go like, well, not really. It's because they want to keep things as simple as possible. This person is easy to be my friend. This person is really difficult to be my friend, you know?
All right.
Yeah.
I don't understand that with a lot of human beings, especially in the kinds of like, I don't know, man, there are times when the more I hang out in the comic book industry, and this is not critical of one person. I'm talking about just like people's conduct. Shawn just got through telling me about a story offline that happened. It was mind-bogglingly like, what? How are they allowed to get away with that level of fiction? And people just buy into it. And yet, if that person was somebody else, let's say on the enemies list, on the bad guy list, they would, these same exact people who keep quiet about it would stop to no end talking about what a human piece of garbage they are, you know, but I don't know why that line doesn't, like, you know, there's that fine line of we don't talk about this, but we talk about this with somebody else. If we've identified them as a bad guy, you know, or if we've identified them as one of us, right? We don't say anything. We try to bury it. We try to like, you know, we try to blur it.
We're living in very tribal times. So if you're on the good tribe will work to keep you on the good tribe. And if you're on the bad tribe, they'll demonize you.
But doesn't that like, I don't know, man, it just weirds me out in a sense of like, they're even within the context of us, right? Shawn, you know, you being like a young child pee-pee toucher, like there's a line where I'm like, if you invite me to go to your young child pee-pee toucher club, I'm like, I'm not going to that, Shawn. You know, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near that fucking weekly meeting that you still go to, you know? Like,
all right,
I'm
Matteo,
not paying.
I'll send you an invite.
Yeah. I'm not going to your Facebook group of young child pee-pee toucher. You know, like I'm not going anywhere near there. But even within the context of us, let's say, right, there is a point in which where is the line in which you like, I cannot associate myself with, you know, I can't associate myself with Eric anymore. I can't associate myself with Shawn or Matteo anymore, you know, or the multiple personalities that fucking Shawn has going on in his head based on his title on the screen, right? Like, there's got to be a line, right? Yeah. And if I broadcast, and here's the key, if I broadcast that line, if I say it out loud in public territory, even as something as trivial as social media, and one of you does that thing where I'm like, this guy's a fucking asshole, I can't hang out with that bad guy. And then one of my friends does it, why do I not hold myself, if not my friends, accountable to that thing? Yeah. What is that?
Well, okay, so let me role play with you, Eric.
Yeah.
So
this is how you got in trouble. Remember that? This is how you are on multiple watch lists, right? Like your area, if they look at the child pedophile app, right? Your house blinks like it's a big dot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that started when you said my child pee-pee toucher club. That's when that started.
I'm putting I'm sanding off the curb of what I really mean to say with that description, because I don't want us to get booted off of this fucking platform. Go ahead.
So you're a good friend of mine. I feel like I know you, all of your complexities and who you are and where your heart is. So if you were to say something online that got people coming at you that may have seemed it was hateful or whatever the people were saying, I'd be like, no, I know Eric. I don't think he really intended it the way it's being received. So I think that's why with our friend groups, because we understand the intention of the person, we understand the nuance of the person. And I think that gets back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the benefit of doubt. That's the benefit of the doubt that you give me because you know me. But I'm just talking about like generally, you know, like if I am clear about the line that in which I condemn somebody, and somebody within my close friend group also crosses that line, why am I not as harsh with them? You know, that's the clear line. I do not mess around with these kinds of people who do these things. I guess
I feel like there's nothing, knowing you, there's nothing you would do that would make me want to condemn you.
I'm just talking about generally, right? I'm talking about like the muscle that ends up flexing with certain people. That perplexes me. That weirds me out, and it makes me not want to be in that. In that's like I don't know about Matteo. Matteo might still want to do something about his career, you know. But clearly, Shawn, you and I don't care about ours. You know, like we just said, screw it. We don't want to have anything to do with mainstream. You know,
this is now called the Crash and Burn podcast.
Yeah, Matteo is doing everything they can to Matteo's coattails are like wide and long, and he's trying to drag us out of this fucking hole. But instead, we were like, no, you're in here with us. You know, we drag him into the hole. While, you know, yeah, you're stuck in here for a little
Actually,
bit.
I got one thing to show you. Hold on.
Your ass? I know. Okay.
All right, so here's the thing, right? Like, I'm trying to figure there's a reason why I don't care to be in that industry anymore. Oh shit!
Ooh, that's pretty nice.
I got it.
How much did that thing cost you?
$19.
All right, how much did it?
Completely worth it, right?
It's what do you call it? You spent $18.99, way too much on that fucking.
But what I did want to talk about was I got that along with another book. I got that book by Zoe Thorogood. It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth.
Yeah,
have you guys
really well written book.
I haven't heard of it.
Wow, dude, that girl is playing with the medium. I haven't seen a young cartoonist come out swinging like that in a long time.
I don't know if you knew, but she was writing that right in the midst of her depression. When she was having,
that's what it says in the book. Yeah.
Jeez Louise, man. What a phenomenal way to
highly recommend it.
Yeah,
awesome.
Really, really well done. So that's another. So talking about things that perplex me, you have the wherewithal to go and buy a high quality book like the Zoe Thorogood book, right? Mm-hmm. And yet the lapse in judgment in buying the other book? Is it just like a charity case or something? It's like I don't.
All right. The truth is, I got it to be a prop on the podcast.
You don't understand
That's
this
right.
kind of things.
Yep.
All right.
Exactly.
Right, maybe I'm living my life to be a little bit too black and white. Maybe there's more nuance to Mr. Freeze that I have not seen. I'm going to hold myself accountable and read Mr. Freeze for the first time. All I've ever seen is the pictures, and it is enough, man, for me to be like, I don't want.
With the words, it gets better.
But
especially because the words cover the heart sometimes. So.
Yeah. Not enough words, I'll tell you what. They should make that into a fucking novel.
Anyway, since the time is running up, like, can we go back to the thing you were saying earlier?
What, that I can't stand you guys? That I'm pretty much done with the comic book industry?
That we knew already. You make sure that it's clear in every episode. So
sometimes I don't make it as clear. I think I should take the time each at the end of every episode of how much I can. All right. Listen, end of every episode, we're trying to come up with a new ritual in which we end up talking about our current projects. How's your book doing, Matteo? How many pages in are you? How's your momentum?
Far,
how's everything?
I have 24 pages done. I had to stop a little bit because I had to do some covers. Actually, an Italian company asked me to do a cover that basically will come out for Lucca, for the show in Lucca. Basically, they're gonna print this book in plastic bags so that you can't see the inside. And my variant is gonna just be printed in one copy.
Oh shit, that's cool.
So it's one out of, I don't know, many thousand.
Wow.
There's a couple ways of looking at that, but I'm gonna try to be positive. Congratulations. Somebody is lucky enough to win your one fucking cover.
Eric, they had the wherewithal to just print one of them.
That's the cynical part, which I'm trying to sidestep.
They printed the first one. They're like, shit, that's enough. Let's not print more of this.
Yeah. It came off the presses and they were like, oh shit, man, we're not investing in that thing.
Stop everything.
It broke the printing press.
Yeah.
Eric, what about you? What's going on with your books?
Yeah, I just sent off the final. I just signed off on the copy for book 4 just yesterday. So that thing is the thing, the production part, the post production, the actual printing, the actual getting it to Iconic. I'm not worried about that. You know where a lot of my energy is going now is like how to hype the book, which by the way we can save for. Which we can save for another episode of like thinking about the thematics of the book and coming up with a trail that'll really help capture people's imaginations, knowing full well I don't have a couple $1 million at my disposal to do like the ultra fancy animation, and I don't have a ton of time. As a matter of fact, with these kinds of limitations, I've forced myself to be that much more creative about like what I want to show. And then ultimately how compelling and sticky it is when it comes to like, in people's minds to go like, whoa, with the music, with the limited effects, with the limited animation, that's really super impactful. That's been a lot of fun to think about. So,
and I'm listening to 2 books about that right now. That's helping me understand and how to think about creative marketing.
Okay, so that's currently where it's at. And then the idea to the 3 people that end up watching this show, I'm planning on releasing books 5 and 6 at the same time. That way, it's a great way to say thank you very much to everybody for sticking around for as long as you have. We've now taken the initiative in saying, you want to end this thing on a good note, go buy books 5 and 6.
That's awesome.
What about you, Shawn? Outside of just that, all you're doing is just like listening to books. Is that what it is? Listening to books.
That's it. That's all I do. I sit in my studio and listen to books all day.
The books.
No, I saw the Tommy episode, and I remember that I made a joke about that backdrop behind you not being that's a Target backdrop, and I'm still convinced that that's a Target backdrop. For photo ops for children.
It's actually in focus. The backdrop itself is blurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you didn't buy a fancy camera or a fancy lens. You bought like a shitty photograph.
So it looked like a fancy camera, right? Exactly. I have actually recently I kind of uncovered or figured out like my strategy that will allow me to do the book of like when to launch a Kickstarter, how to use the money from that to propel the next thing, kind of like what Andrew McLean was talking to me about once. So yesterday I spent like a few hours like with years and goals and target dates and all that. So that's all good. And I've been developing a shorthand, I guess I'd call it, a simpler style to work in so I can actually get this stuff done. And the first short story I am almost done writing. And my goal is to finish that by the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you work best when somebody doesn't believe in you or somebody believes in you? I remember, rewind back to about a decade ago, and we were all in Denver and just hanging out, right?
Yeah.
And then somebody pointed, I don't know how the conversation came up. We're like, we're getting a little big, like the three of us are packing it on for whatever reason.
Oh, you didn't mean the name, our names. You're actually our buddies. Okay.
Of course, that's where his head goes.
For fuck's sake, Matteo, just.
The ego really on this tough. Guy.
It's really tough being your friend. I try, but I have to find dedication to it every month. Yeah, I'm talking about your body.
Yeah.
Anyway, your body I'm pointing out specific now. And then the reason why I asked, like, we made a bet. We were like, hey, I bet you by the time we get to New York Comic Con, which is that was not long. It was like 6 months, 8 months or something like that. Let's do it. Let's see how much weight we could shed. And Matteo was on the grind for a little bit. There was one time Matteo was like, yo, I dropped this much weight. But also right around the time he sent us a photograph of poop in his toilet. And I'm like, that doesn't count. That weight loss that you didn't flush, that you decided to take a photograph of and share with us, that does not count as weight loss.
Don't count.
Yeah, exactly. Vegetarian pasta or whatever it is. The reason why I ask is I was just about to say, hey, Matteo, how much you want to make a bet that Shawn is not going to do any of this shit? Would that have fired you up to be like, fuck you guys, I'm going to fucking do it? Or would you just like sign off and immediately start looking for razor blades? You know what I mean? Just like, I don't want to live.
It wouldn't depress me. No.
What kind of effect would something like that have on you if I were to like, I think you're a sensitive soul and I want to be careful what landmine I step on with you.
No, I think that would motivate me.
Would it?
It's not, but the thing is, I'm not unmotivated. I'm just, I have such a hard time.
I beg to differ, surviving. Sir.
I just have a hard time, like, being able to have the time to do it. Like, my time is so soaked up with doing work that pays for my life that having the extra time. So that's why I've been putting time into developing a simpler style and having a longer goal that I can actually see.
There's a handful of subjects that we can talk about for the next one. I want to talk about that one eventually that you're talking about, because potentially there's people in our audience that are listening to that and having to deal with time management and making sure that their 9-to-5 life works, their finances are in order, and also finding a way to have an outlet for their creativity. Here's the thing that I'm careful about, right? Can we have that conversation without you grabbing the wheel to the fucking depression bus and just looking for every opportunity to drive into a wall? Like, that's like, you're generally a happy guy, but the moment I hint in that area, your depression enthusiasm kicks up to 15, man. Right? Like, I'm like, oh, don't talk about that. Like, is there things, can we talk about that without you having to be like, yes, and then the world turns gray and brown? We can.
I'm in a much healthier place now, and I'll have a little microdose of mushrooms before the conversation, so I'll be in
Did you say microdose of emotions? Don't have any microdose of emotions. Okay, no, all right.
Mushrooms.
All right. We'll prompt you correctly, and then we'll do the thing where I'm like, Shawn, we're going to talk about your feelings today. Can you please go dope up somewhere?
Shawn, how long ago did you take your mushrooms?
That's enough, like, fucking landmine.
So 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no. Take it at the beginning of the episode.
Go.
Yeah, it's going now. That's enough things to be canceled about. I'm going to hit the stop button now.
This is the Inkpulp podcast. This is the The Inkpulp podcast. Comics. Hip hop. Life.